Right, where were we? Theme music. It's the 87th Precinct podcast. This is, as far as we know, still the only podcast in the world dedicated to Ed McBain's seminal series of police procedural novels, which began in 1956 with Cop Hater and ended in 2005 with Fiddlers. There were 55 books in the series, and today's episode looks at, well, none of them, but I suppose you could say it kind of looks back to book number 10 in the series, which was 1959's King's Ransom. But it looks at it through the lens of the film High and Low, but it looks at that film through the lens of 2025's Highest to Lowest, which is Spike Lee's updated version of Kurosawa's movie. But before we get to that, I suppose I should introduce the characters sat around the old Hark table. We have, of course, got Mr. Stephen Royston.
Hello.
And Mr. Morgan Brown.
How do you do?
Well, yes. It's nice to see you again.
Well, I've not seen you for years.
Yeah. 3.5 years it's been.
Good Lord.
Not seen or spoken to each other since. Yes, our last episode was May 2022.
Well.
My God, how time flies.
Yeah, it does really. It's a bit weird, isn't it? Yeah, flipping heck. Sorry, everyone. We did mean to come back quite soon after we'd finished the last one. Not only did the very last episode we put out cut off before we'd actually... the recording before we'd finished talking. But... we did say we'd come back and talk about things and do a catch-up and round-up, and then it's 3.5 years later.
Well, better late than never.
Yeah, that's it. We're doing it. So it's a Christmas treat for everyone. I mean, it's a bit weird. It's not like there's much to sort of catch up on, really. I mean, the only thing I thought we could talk about is if there's been any crime reading fun that you've had in the past few years, really. I mean... I was thinking back, looking at my little list of books, because I've had to start keeping a list of books and films that I watch and stuff like that because I am terrible for remembering. And also because I keep reading series of things and needing to know what's in those series. Crime-wise, the thing I've enjoyed most in the past couple of years was Seiichi Yokomizo's books, the Japanese writer who wrote the Kasuki Kindaichi detective novels.
Oh, right. Okay.
So they're the ones that he started writing them, I think, in the 40s, and it was right through to just before he died, I think, in 1980 or something like that.
I think you had me reading one of those, did you not?
I think, I think I did. Like Death on Gokkumon Island or something like that, or one of those.
It was a locked room mystery, the name of which escapes me. The Zodiac Murders, was it called?
No, it wasn't called the Zodiac Murders. But he's a funny one because he's like the Japanese Sherlock Holmes. You know, he's this independent detective who does work with the police and has sold so many books in Japan and had so many films and TV series and plays and all that stuff, man. It's just, there's like something like 70 odd books in the series, of which there's been about 5 published in English and only in the past 10 years, which is nuts, really.
Yeah, it's crazy things like that. It's like I've got years ago got the first 2 Phantomus books in translation and got really excited about those, and then those are the only 2 that have been translated into English ever, even though there are, I don't even know how many there are in French, but very many.
Yeah.
I think there's still only those 2 translated even now.
That's nuts, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, fabulous books, though. I mean, there is, a few locked room type mysteries, other types of, lots of tying up of sort of the issues that are at play in Japan in the 20th century, mid-20th century particularly.
Cool.
But very, very interesting. It always strikes me as amazing when there's a character like that is so hugely well-known and well-selling that you just know nothing about. And it's great. So there was Pushkin Vertigo, I think, is a publisher that's done a bunch of those. So that's the thing that struck me the most. But I was going through a bit of a phase of reading John D. MacDonald stuff again, like mid-60s. mid to late 60s Travis McGee novels recently. Well, I was feeling a bit miserable and sorry for myself, and I just wanted some comfort reading. So I did 3 of those in a row, I think.
Well, very satisfying.
Yeah, they are. Even if it's weird when you read one where he's suddenly this very ocean going. That's not quite right. Delta going. Is that more correct? Marine character is suddenly in the desert. It's always, when they pick up and place a character that you know from one setting into something completely different.
Yeah, it can be a bit odd.
But yeah, I enjoyed them a lot, really. So,
cool.
What about you, Morgan? Had anything on the go crime-wise?
Not that much crime-wise. I'm still probably on a bit more of a science fiction kick, but I did find a little cache of vintage Margaret Millers in a little shop in Southport a while ago, and I've been gradually working my way through those. I do love a good Margaret Miller.
Yeah,
I think it's always a bit frustrating to me that she's not quite as well known as I think she should be, because really quite a singular writer, just a bit of a different approach to anyone else of that kind of generation, with like just really interesting characters, like psychologically really interesting.
Yeah. I've read a couple of Margaret Millers. I've got a couple more to read yet. Yes, I would like to read more of that.
Specializes in these sort of psychologically damaged but fascinating individuals. Always pretty gripping, I think.
Yeah, cool. Steve-O?
Well, I must have done a fair few Margaret Millers in the last few years as well. Always a collection of fairly ordinary looking people at the beginning of the book, and then as the books go on you realise they're all completely crackers in their own little ways. And but they're not quite. Yeah, they're not very easy to get hold of. Those really.
No, there were some sort of omnibus editions of them a few years ago. I think they've
with the MM on the spine. But they're quite tricky to get hold of.
I think they've gone out of print again now. It's a shame. Yeah, because there was a bit of after there were a couple of TV adaptations of Shirley Jackson. She's had a bit of a renaissance with new kind of fancy editions. I always think Margaret Miller, although technically I guess you'd say Shirley Jackson's more in the horror vein and Margaret Miller's more crime, I think they've got an awful lot in common as writers. I think anyone who enjoys, The Haunting of Hill House or The Bird's Nest or any of those would definitely really enjoy Margaret Miller's stuff too, because it's really pretty similar.
Yeah.
I've been, chalking off a few more Maigres as well. But there's just an absolute vast number of those to get through. So
well, that's a good example, like with those Yokomizo novels. Maigret is that equivalent figure in France, but he's known worldwide. Whereas the Japanese stuff just hasn't come across as much.
But I did have to Google my Zodiac Murders, which is the only other Japanese crime fiction I've ever read, by Sozi Shimada.
Right, don't know that.
But I remember that being an absolutely fantastic book that I randomly came across somewhere, and of which I seem to remember the plot is extremely bonkers as well. That would be a couple of years ago, so don't ask me any questions about what happens, because I'm not sure I remember.
I read one from the 80s by Ayat Suji called The Decagon House Murders, which is very Agatha Christie. And in fact, I was reading this book and I got to the end of it. I thought, this is unfilmable. This book is unfilmable because the way the story's told and the reveal at the end, you can't, there's no way to do that visually. And then so I did what I very often do, is I went and looked up some stuff about the book. And the first thing I read was made into a series in 2024. So how? But
intriguing.
Adaptations of books are a whole thing unto themselves, as we shall see.
Yes.
Well, the one of the series that you got me to read would be Unfilmable, because that's all about locked room, but then a case of mistaken identity and somebody who shouldn't be alive is, and be a bit of a challenge to film, I think. But they always find a way, though, I suppose.
The Honjin Murders, that's the first one.
That's
the Yokomizo one.
Yep.
There we go. There's a little bit of a catch up for everyone there. I was reading quite a lot of sci-fi as well recently, and I always go through these phases of Philip Jose Farmer's Riverworld series, because I finally found the next 3 books and I've been beasting through that. Why do so many science fiction writers require the scenarios they put their characters in to have them nude? So just
don't know.
I don't know. I've never read any Philip Jose Farmer, but I have heard that about him specifically.
Yeah,
but,
well, on his blurb, it's always about how he introduced sex into science fiction. But yeah, it's like, so every human being that's ever died is resurrected on the banks of this mysteriously resurrected on the banks of the river world, along the banks of this river, and they don't know where, but they are for some reason all nude.
When they're
resurrected, yeah, they're all nude and they're all 25.
Fantastic.
So,
well,
there you go. Anyway.
Sexy times in the future.
Yeah,
maybe.
that's
Wait
it.
us all.
Yeah. On the subject of Ed McBain, anyway, I would love to update everyone on what's happened in the world of Ed McBain in the last 3.5 years.
Well, yeah. I
and if anyone can do it, I can do it.
Yes.
But in all honesty, if there was any news, I would have mentioned it already on social media sites such as Facebook and Instagram and Blue Sky, where you can find us on there. Very easy to find us, Hark87 Podcast. Especially Blue Sky. Let's get more going on there. That's good. But the B point is there just hasn't been any news. I mean, that's it. And I did check again today thinking, have I missed anything? Even like anniversaries or discussions? And like when... last year with Blackboard Jungle and this year for the film of it, I did a bit of, media stuff, but there wasn't anything in the press about it. There's been no more discussion about an 87th Precinct TV series. I'm sure someone must have the rights still, but nothing, absolutely nothing. The only thing I've noticed is today, edmcbain.com is still up, and that's been around for a very long time. But the front page of that has changed slightly. But all it's changed to is basically go onto Amazon to say, go to Amazon and buy these books. And claiming that you can buy all, quote, 52 of the novels on Amazon now. And it's like, well, you can't. You still can't. I mean, you can buy all 55 in some form or another, but Amazon do not own, Thomas and Mercer do not own the rights to all of them still. And in fact, I think there's even fewer than last time I checked, because for some reason, there used to be an ebook available for The Last Dance. That's now not available anywhere. I can't find any publication details for that anywhere. So the number of available, if you want to buy them digitally, has dropped. So
you mentioned, 20 years though since the last book. I suppose,
absolutely.
I suppose it.
I should have checked the publication date, really.
But it starts to become a distance, and a lot of his colleagues and people who would have an interest in promoting, or people who remember them, become less and less, I suppose. Yeah,
because whenever you do see mention, lots of people mention, like I was talking to you, Steve, about Shane Black, the director who's done the new Parker adaptation.
Oh yeah.
And I was listening to him talk on a podcast recently, on the Scott Hasn't Seen podcast off Comedy Bang Bang World. And he mentioned Ed McBain a couple of times. So there are people who are really,
And how old is he, you reckon, kind of?
Well, he's...
Of what generation?
Well, his Lethal Weapons, his thing, isn't it?
So yeah.
I think that's right. Anyway, but I'm just to see if I can find the publication date of the last 87th
Well, it would be
Precinct book.
An amazing coincidence.
13th of September, 2005. So we are now 20 years and 20 and a quarter years on from the last 87th Precinct book, and there's nothing else. Nothing's come out, so you just don't know who's got the rights and what they're allowed to do. And the thing I've mentioned a couple of times before, I think, is like recently I've been trying to make sure I've got as many of the short stories as I can out of the old sort of pulps magazines. So I've definitely got all the published sci-fi short stories, and they would do that. No one expects it to be Ed McBain. They expect it to be the writings of someone who becomes Ed McBain. But you could do that easily. 20 odd little short stories, 3,000, 4,000 words short stories in a book. Republish them, then republish the sci-fi. There's so many ways you could handle that. All the stuff, there are tons and tons and tons of short stories that haven't been published anywhere else that are crime and adventure things like that. It really needs looking into.
Well,
so someone let me.
You're the man to do it.
I think. Absolutely.
Okay, well...
Well, are the rights to all this held with numerous different
presumably, though,
bodies, which just make it insurmountable to achieve? Or...
You'd have thought so, because, I mean, copyright, obviously, in things lasts a very long time, but you also don't know where that copyright's been allocated. If he was writing... there was times in the early 50s where he'd have 4 stories in Manhunt under different names, but he'd also have stories in a sci-fi magazine, a Western magazine, a sports magazine even, which are really hard to find. I can't find any of the sports ones at all. So who owns them? Is it the publishers, or did he then later reclaim them back, or what type of contracts did they have?
There could be organisations that have the rights to these things as part of their portfolios of acquiring things, and they just don't even know about it.
Yeah, they're just tucked away somewhere.
Yeah, I know he did make a big effort, because the Huey Corporation was him, and a lot of the stuff that you see published later is copyright that, even if it's republishings of earlier things. So sometimes you'll find a short story in like a collected edition of different authors doing things, like a sci-fi one. And I need to check the copyright on that, which might suggest something. But anyway, that's neither here nor there at the moment. But yeah, so there you go. Sorry, no news.
Until this film, maybe. Is that the most significant thing,
that's
really?
Certainly where his name's cropped up most recently in like articles and things like that, because people are saying, it's based on Kurosawa, which it's in turn is based on. But we'll come to that in a second. I got in front of me our final rankings for the series. I'm not suggesting we do our recap and,
You're not expecting me to remember. Maybe we could have 3 hours of us trying to guess the order.
Well, until we get it right. Until you two get it right, and I sit here smugly with a list in front of me.
Well, I reckon taking King's Ransom then, I suspect that would be I reckon that would be top 6, I would say.
Yeah.
If I had to guess.
Yeah. Can you remember any of what was our number 1 in the end?
Ooh, one about the Dutch ghosts.
Let's see how far down I have to scroll to find that one.
Was that bottom? Well, there was quite a few contenders for bottom.
That was third from bottom. Ghosts was third from bottom.
All right, okay.
I feel, King's Ransom must be near the top.
Ice was always very, very good, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Cop Hater, surely somewhere up there as well.
Well, I'll tell you what the top. I'll read
Top three. What's?
I'll give you the top 10.
Top 10.
Nice.
So I've.
Can you do it in Alan Freeman voice?
No, I can't. But you can put the. Anyway,
have you got the publishing year? I'd be interested to know how the different eras and whatnot rate.
Not written down, but we know it ran more or less.
Okay,
we know it randomly. We know it more or less. Yeah. So number 1 was Tricks.
Oh God, yeah.
80s, that maybe.
Yeah, early-ish 80s, maybe. Yeah, because I'd forgotten how good that was until we reread it, and it was like, oh yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, Tricks was book number 40 in 1987.
Oh, it's later than I thought. Yeah, that's terrific.
And that's probably flanked by some reasonably soon after some more dodgy editions, I would have thought.
Yeah. Our second highest rated book was Ice.
All right, okay.
Then King's Ransom.
Oh,
well,
what a guess.
Good, yeah, but yeah, it was
Tricks. I would have never.
I think we just responded very. It was one I don't know that I would necessarily leap to go back to, although I did reread it again recently.
It's kind of made me want to reread that now, because
I think it was one that you get a very visceral response to. It's quite a sort of action-packed thing. Okay. Tricks, Ice, King's Ransom, Sadie When She Died.
Oh right, yeah.
Which is excellent. That was one we always held up as being a sort of a perfect example.
Yeah, that's good.
Doll.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Great.
Then Cop Hater.
Mm-hmm.
Where are we now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
That's 6.
The Heckler. So very early on.
Oh yeah.
Kiss, about which I can remember almost nothing, but we put it in our top 10. Fat Ollie's book.
Oh yeah.
And Fiddlers. So the very last one was our number 10.
Yeah, Fat Ollie's book's a good later one as well, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, that's interesting.
So
and bottom 5.
Bottom 5 was right in towards the very bottom. We'll go towards the bottom. We got 80 Million Eyes. Worse than that was The Last Dance, which is all right. You can't get an ebook of it. Worse than that was Ghosts. Those Dutch ghosts.
Dutch ghosts. Who wants to read about them?
Yeah. Then we discovered that worse than that was our namesake, Hark. And can we remember what was in last place out of all of the books?
What about the one with the music festival? That was always a bit...
Bandersnatch?
It's the Frumious Bandersnatch.
Yes.
What happens in that?
That's to do with the music industry.
Oh, right, well...
If
there's one thing he always had a bit of a blind spot for, it was...
Yeah. There's something about... older people trying to engage with the youthful side of the music industry that can sometimes ring a bit false.
Oh, it was a song, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh.
It was a sort of Britney, Christina Aguilera style pop star who has
it's all coming back.
a song based on the Frumious Bandersnatch.
Yeah.
It's excruciating.
Jabberwocky, isn't it? Yeah,
yes, that's the one. Yeah.
50 million, that's the one with the murder on the television.
80 million
something.
eyes, yeah.
80 million eyes.
Yeah, which I have sort of a guilty pleasure of. I can reread that, but it's definitely not good when you pay it any attention.
Yeah. I enjoyed all of them.
Yeah.
But there's a reason why the ones down at the bottom are at the bottom.
Yeah, especially Bandersnatch. But yes, you make a good point, Morgan, about people trying to engage with the music industry from outside of it or from being a certain age. Something we may come back to in our following discussion.
It could happen.
Yeah. I do want to give special mention, though, to some of the special episodes I did with guests and things like that, because what we will have to do is we will have to rank highest to lowest, and we'll have to keep our brains alive for what a unit's going to be. Because, we normally awarded police shields, didn't we? Out of 100. So when, I did the spin-offs, the Star Trek Assignment Earth spin-off, that was marked in Starfleet communicators, high and low, which we did and obviously rated very, very highly.
Yeah.
We didn't just mark that in police badges. We were being quite kind there. The Young Savages, we watched that film. We marked that out of Switchblades. Line of Duty, which we watched, which was a TV episode that McBain wrote. For some reason, we awarded that points in the form of crochet beads, and I cannot for the life of me remember why.
There'll be an extremely good reason for that. Well, must have cropped up.
But and the TV serial, TV episode written by S.A. Lombino, Appointment on Mars, that I did with a guest, our friend Adam Paxman, was graded out of carpet weave density. So we need to come up with something appropriate for highest to lowest, which is a film we have just watched.
I'll have a think.
In fact, it's a film that Morgan has now watched twice.
Oh, well,
it's true.
Can't believe you've devoted 4.5 hours of your life to...
Did you go to the cinema the first time?
No, I don't think we completely missed the cinematic run, but it was just Steph spotted it and on Apple TV, so I was like, started watching it and then realised, oh God, it's the adaptation of, It
only had a very, very limited theatrical run, I believe, because technically it was a box office bomb, except that it was only limited to several theatres, only for a very short time, and actually it made $1.5 million or something, which, given the scenario it was put out in.
Yeah, I think the more films are released like that, the more they're going to have to reevaluate what constitutes a bomb, aren't they?
Yeah.
Particularly if Netflix ends up taking over Warner Brothers. I'm not sure what's happening with that.
I've got a cinema membership and it's released totally past me by. So,
it may not even have got into the cinemas around us.
No.
Possibly it may have just been a few cinemas in America.
I don't recall it doing so.
And I think there is partly they do that, don't they, to get it to qualify for awards and things like that.
That kind of thing, yeah.
But it is essentially an Apple film, and it's out on Apple TV, and that's where we watched it. But it's Spike Lee with his oft collaborator, Denzel Washington, in the lead role. And the thing that's important to us, it's called Highest to Lowest, because it's based on High and Low by Akira Kurosawa, which we know is a phenomenal film, regardless of the McBain connection. But it is also the best adaptation of any McBain there's been. So here's the thing to get us going with this, really. Are we 2 steps removed from the McBain novel now because it's an adaptation of an adaptation? And I say that given that the film that we've just watched is set in New York again and acknowledges King's Ransom in the credits at the start, which I was shocked by.
Yeah, I was surprised when that first came up as well, because it says, it gives it equal billing to...
In fact, it says that before it says Kurosawa.
Yeah.
No, maybe there's an element of full circle then. I don't know, getting closer to the source, but...
In some respects.
Yeah, in some respects, and not in others. Because, you wouldn't go back to that source material and make it just about some rich guy. It has to be some rich guy in a very significant and powerful and obvious position, which is what this film's all about.
Yeah, it does running a shoe. What was a shoe factory?
Yes.
Is that not powerful enough anymore? I don't know.
So the general arc of the plot, I can't quite remember how similar it was to High and Low. Maybe you could explain.
I haven't watched it in ages, even though I have got sitting waiting for me the new BFI Blu-ray release of High and Low.
Which seemed to be broadly similar, I think.
So essentially...
Train and all.
Yeah, totally. So we have the basic plot from High and Low, as I suspect everyone listening to this knows anyway, is that the son of a rich person is kidnapped, only it turns out not to be his son, but the son of his chauffeur, who's more of a sort of general factotum in this one, isn't he? Rather, even though he does drive the car.
Does drive as well, yeah.
Drives that disgusting Rolls Royce. I hate that car.
Yeah, it's
so ugly.
Very ugly car.
But and then what happens is once the kidnapper discovers their mistake, they don't care anyway. So it's about the moral quandary of the lead character, who is Douglas King in the book, King Gilgondo in the Kurosawa film, and David King in this film. So he has to struggle with whether he's going to pay the money now it's not his son that's been kidnapped. He eventually agrees to do so. Then it's about the process of how do they get the money to the kidnapper, and then how do they get the money back and the boy back and all that sort of stuff. So it does follow the general beats of it, although in this one, and you have to remember Denzel Washington has made 3 films of The Equalizer. You do get a feeling he felt a little bit like he wanted to be The Equalizer again at the end of this. Like they get the police out of the way.
Yes.
And then he's off of it, pulling a gun.
It certainly does for the last half hour. Running around. I don't know how old he is these days, but he did a lot of running around towards the end, didn't he?
Certainly did. Yeah, there was some hilariously slow chasing in this film, wasn't there?
Well, yeah, I suppose a totally stoned guy being chased after by a 70-year-old man kind of chase. I don't think either of them were...
Yeah. And the bit where one of the policemen was chasing earlier in the film was chasing the guy down the steps, and it was like neither of them had ever seen a step before.
Yeah, I guess the one guy had taken a bump off the scooter. The policeman, I guess, was just really out of condition. Yeah, so I think they were quite evenly matched. There was like one really injured guy and one just lazy policeman.
He was too busy swearing at everyone, wasn't he?
And just being borderline extremely racist at everyone who stepped in front of him.
Yeah. So that was the policeman played by I think Dean Winters, who I mainly know as one of Liz Lemon's terrible boyfriends from 30 Rock. And as we were saying, he always seems to play grotty little weirdos.
Well cast in this.
Was he our Roger Haviland for the occasion?
Maybe. Let's make that.
Yeah, absolutely. He was the only one who seemed to me to be any kind of equivalent of an 87 precinct cop, really.
Yeah.
The rest of them were just, they weren't really characters, were they at all?
No, I don't think so. I mean, because even the sort of the lead
nondescript cop number 1.
Did we even know any of their names? Because I was interested in whether they were just going to maybe just give them a little bit of a nod to hello, I'm Detective Steve Carell or something, and then that be literally the extent of the connection.
We had Detective Earl Bridges. There was a lot of Bridges in the film as well. I wonder if they just went Bridges.
Earl Bridges.
Yeah, Dean Winters was Detective Higgins and LeChance as Detective Bell. So
Thomas Underground.
Yeah. Detective Train.
Barry Locomotive. Oh, they don't really have
2 nice cops, 1 nasty cop.
Yeah, that was kind of.
Although they were They did a lot of victimization of some people. They just didn't like some people, and they were horrible to them.
There was definitely a bit of a class divide, wasn't there, with how they treated people, which wasn't done terribly subtly, but it was there definitely.
If you were wearing a beanie, you got shouted at.
That's it.
And
they also got onto the fact that the chauffeur had a criminal record very early on, and that very much informed how he was treated, didn't it? I think
absolutely.
Yeah. So there was. I mean, there's always, without going into the the deep psychological meaning, high to low, highest to lowest. It's interpreted several ways in the Kurosawa and in this, some more effective than others, really.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll give you a really silly link, of course, via Denzel Washington to Ed McBain, which is, of course, as I have mentioned, Denzel Washington played the Equalizer in the big screen adaptations of the Equalizer.
Right.
In the TV series of The Equalizer, with Edward Woodward,
and
he often interacted with a character in the company called Control, played by Robert Lansing, who was television's Steve Carell in the 60s.
Fantastic.
A thing that Denzel Washington will know nothing about. So there you go. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
It's all connected.
It was fate for him to play that role, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, I've got to be honest, I don't think I've seen many Spike Lee films, if any, all the way through, which seems a bit odd, really, because I'd have thought I'd have seen something like Do the Right Thing or something like that.
I do love Do the Right Thing.
But have you seen many Spike Lee?
Not really. I've seen that. I've definitely seen Jungle Fever years ago. I saw Black Klansman when that came out. And possibly one or two others, but Do the Right Thing is the only one that really made that much of an impression on me. Black Klansman was pretty good too.
Black Klansman I've seen, yeah. That was very good, I thought.
Yeah, it's. I was looking down the list of things he's done when I was so the ones he's done with Denzel Washington is Mo Better Blues, Malcolm X, He Got Game, Inside Man, and Highest to Lowest. So it wasn't as many as I thought. They seem to be implying that he'd been in like everything with him, but no, it's 5. But some of the other cast I think have worked with Spike Lee a fair bit. But yeah, looking down the list here, it's what have we got as well?
Clockers, I'm sure I've seen that as well.
Yeah.
Malcolm X, definitely seen that.
I've not seen that.
We could have seen this one, which has we could have watched this one, which.
Yes, that was
Bamboozled.
A film called Bamboozled, yes, which is about, I think, black minstrelsy being done by black people. But I don't know. Don't hold me to that. I think that's what it's about minstrelsy. I think.
Yeah.
It'd
be quite interesting.
I'm sure it'd be
from a Spike Lee perspective.
Yeah, totally. I mean, so obviously, if you're getting a Spike Lee film, you're going to get something that's dealing probably with cultural situations around black people, and this is what we get here. But it's tied into the music industry, and particularly then the sort of rap, particularly, but also pop. It's a bit hard to tell, really. I mean,
you seem to move the goalposts on exactly that fella's career a little bit.
So instead of having a shoe salesman, a rich shoe magnate...
Gone are the days of rich shoe magnates.
We've got the head of a very, or at least at one point, very, very, very successful record company that is... So let me get this right, because I think this does tally exactly with King's Ransom and High to Low. It's not as successful now, so the board wants to sell to another company called Stray Dog, which is a reference to Kurosawa, if I'm not much mistaken. And I rarely am. But David King wants to buy the business out himself to make it more authentic, to get it back to his roots.
Yeah.
Because he has pride in the product, as Kingo Gondo had.
He's sold some shares earlier, hasn't he? And he's regretted it, and now he wants to buy everyone else's shares back so he can reconnect with the music and and all that.
But the board aren't necessarily sure about it, but he's determined at this point that he's going to liquidate all his assets, such as their big high penthouse, the high point in the film, highest point.
He seems to have made a big U-turn at the beginning of the film, so this is all a big shock to everyone, isn't it? He seems to have totally changed his mind on what he wants to do.
For a very urban film set in Brooklyn mainly, and dealing with rap and things like that, and the record, it does open with Oklahoma, oh, what a beautiful morning, doesn't it?
Bright golden haze on the meadow and what have you, yeah.
Yeah, well, he's all but clicking his heels together because he's decided he's going to do this, and he's going to figure it out somehow. And obviously, then this ransom thing, which comes
the worst possible time.
It's a terrible time for that to have happened.
It's, most unfortunate for him.
But it comes so just out of nowhere. Like you don't see any build up to it. You don't see any. There's no sense of stalking. There's no sense, but that's what happens. One moment his son's there, the next, apparently he's not.
Quite a lot of crime films always like double track the innocent parties with the
criminals.
The criminals going about their planning and whatnot.
Just see his son and the chauffeur's son being dropped off at their basketball camp and innocently swapping headbands.
Yes.
Well, and going at great pains numerous times to explain to people that we are not going to have our mobile phones on us for the next next few hours, and they say that like 3 times, almost winking at the camera at one stage. So just to make sure you'd noted that comment.
We've talked about this when we talked about how you modernise like the 87th precinct, because you'd have to kill off mobile phones. Mobile phones totally change the nature of storytelling.
True.
So you had to literally, like you say, they were like, "Oh, you're gonna have to put it in a lockbox." And all your identifying jewellery and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so they kind of do that for mobile phones, but then like pretend that CCTV doesn't kind of exist really. So they kind of do a little bit of a explanation of.
I don't know how well covered those bits of the streets and areas of the Bronx are, but I'm
fairly sure a public building such as that would anyway. Yeah,
around a train station and stuff. You'd think, yeah.
There is numerous points in this film where one cannot dig too deeply into the plot.
Yeah. It's funny actually. Speaking of mobile phones, because the original in the book, am I right in remembering that it's one of the few books from back then where, like, there is actually a use of a phone in an unusual. There's a car phone.
Yes, so the original book does have a car phone as part of its mechanism, which is sort of that shows us really. But it's not the same thing as everybody having a mobile phone and that you could track and all this sort of stuff.
Well, you can only talk to him in the car from back in the apartment in San Spit or whatever it is.
Yeah, that was it in the book. Yeah. So yeah. No, you're all right, though. I mean, the police involved in this, apart from the sort of limited cast of them, you'd think there's a bit where everyone comes in and they set up some laptops, and that's it in terms of technology. And then at some point, I think it's like someone says, "Oh, should we get some CCTV?"
Yeah, after they've set up all the laptops, it occurs to someone to check the CCTV from outside the building where the kidnapping is.
It's extremely curious, that, isn't it? They're too busy shouting at people.
Too busy telling. Yeah,
too busy making assumptions about people based on their
previous criminal record.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, in particular, that is Jeffrey Wright there as Paul Christopher, the chauffeur, general factotum, friend, character. He's very good. I mean, he's Jeffrey Wright's always very good, I think.
Yeah, he's cracking.
But yeah, that coach, the basketball coach, was Rick Fox, who is actually a former basketball player and actor.
Right.
So there's a handful of real people in this.
Yeah, it's kind of lost on us a little bit.
There were quite a lot of nods for people who knew about basketball, which went straight over my head. I could tell there was some kind of reference going on, but I'm like, no, I have no idea.
Yeah.
The bit with the beat cops, and one of them wanted his autograph and one of them really didn't.
Yeah, he made some reference to someone, didn't he? That I didn't catch. And I believe the guy who was the newsreader was also actually a newsreader or a host of CNN, Don Lemon.
Yeah, there were quite a few sort of celebrity cameos, and I suppose there was some promising young artist in who was actually Ice Spice, I noticed at one point.
Yes, I don't know who Ice Spice is, but
the only thing I've ever heard by her is I think one of her singles was called, and I don't know if I should be swearing on this, but she did have a single called, I think, something like "Think You're the Shit" (fart). Something like that.
Well, that's very sophisticated.
Yeah, the chorus is just "You think you're the shit, you ain't even the fart" over and over again.
Oh, I see. That's
catchy.
Okay. Yeah.
So she was in it.
Yeah, fair enough.
For no reason whatsoever, I think he just says hello to her, and then in the office.
Was that the person talking to in the office? Not even the one playing the guitar in the lobby.
Oh no.
Okay.
Oh no, she can't sing.
Interesting. Okay. Well, there we are. Yeah. Well, I suppose we should, while we're talking about musicians in this film, we should probably mention. I mean, I assume everyone's figured that this is all going to be spoiler-ridden. This review anyway. Is that the baddie, as it were, is young felon played by, as soon as possible, Rocky, ASAP Rocky. Again, who I know the name, but I couldn't tell you anything about. But
I hadn't heard any of his music until the actual film.
It's always a bit of a funny thing when they cast musicians in, actual acting roles in films with sort of heavyweights like Denzel Washington, Yeah,
it's a bit difficult to know quite whether that works on any level, really. But
yeah, I don't know if it was a good or bad performance. Was it what they wanted? Was it, they sort of tie him up in scenarios where he doesn't have to really move while while acting,
Yeah.
But then at the end, he did a fairly a good performance of somebody who's clearly completely deranged at the end, when the entire film goes slightly sideways for a little bit. But
it's some strange things. The bit in the studio where they both like sort of threatening each other through the medium of a rap battle was a bit excruciating, I thought.
Yeah, that's where it felt a little bit like, this feels like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's tricky, but as this is probably the whitest podcast to be reviewing this film.
I suspect there have been many white podcasts. It's very white podcasts that have reviewed the film, to be honest.
Oh, yeah, fair enough.
It's the magic of podcasts, isn't it?
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So I made some notes as I went through. So I wasn't keen right from the start on the fact that when Highest to Lowest popped up on screen, the two looked like a cartoon, like you were expecting a wacky film. But we have Oklahoma then start. So, but very nice shots of the city. I mean, that's the thing with New York. It's very hard to film New York badly, and this was filmed very nicely.
Yeah, like beautiful kind of drone sort of shots, weren't there? It was great.
Yeah, and it was even shot very well when it was down to street level and subterranean even.
Yeah, well, they were the best bits, I think, weren't they? When the action
when they got out of
and it went
out of the penthouse.
Yeah, I think a lot of the penthouse scenes are a bit spoilt by the clearly obvious, whatever trickery they do with the outside.
Yes, it's all...
as were all like the car journeys, which are all very staged, if you know what I mean. I thought.
Yeah, well, I suppose you consider how when we talked about High and Low, we talked about how the first part of that film was very stagey, but that was partly the fact that it was shot to be like a stage play, and also it was the 60s and not 2025.
But it kind of burst into life, didn't it? Really, in like the
the moment they get out of the penthouse. Yeah. So like I said, based on the novel in the credits was a shock to me. AI, of course, is present by virtue of being one of the reasons he doesn't want to sell the company is because the Stray Dog apparently wants to make records with AI, and people in the music business keep saying things like it's the money, it's a music business, all that sort of stuff. But all that's going on, and then we get the kidnapping. We don't get any need to sneak the police in this film. So if you remember in High and Low, they have to sort of dress them up to sneak them in. Here we don't have any of that sort of like the place is being watched.
Yeah, there's no don't involve the police at all. It's like involve the police.
Yeah, he rings the police instantly. Yeah. There's no two ways about it,
Well, they knock on the door and they're very polite about coming in. Are we all right?
Can we come in?
Come in.
Yeah, and then they're just really rude to everyone.
Yeah.
There's a weird sequence where King and Paul Christopher, or whatever his name is, his chauffeur friend, are talking, and suddenly he has a hand grenade.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that. That was a cute. And he says something about never know when to let this off or something.
Yeah,
and it's just like, so you've got a live hand grenade in your office.
Yeah,
and it's never referred to before or after.
Yeah, it's like Chekhov's hand grenade, but not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that. What a curious moment that was.
Yeah, it's a bit odd.
It was a blue hand grenade as well.
Yeah. Makeup, all sorts of colours these days, I know it's a choice to distinguish it as a thing, though, but why Why were the family videos the memories of this family in 2025, presumably? Why are they on Cinefilm?
Yeah, I thought the same. Sorry.
There were a few other bits that
but then there was a few other bits
too, and I don't know what linked those bits because there didn't seem to be anything that connected them or any particular reason why they were on Cinefilm.
Yeah, because the memories, Cinefilm is a sort of shorthand for the past. Yeah. So fine, okay, I can understand that. But then when at the end, when young Felon's been at court and he says, all right, talk to your public. That's on Cinefilm, and that's not the past, that's the then. So
I'm sure that there is a reason. I can't figure out what it is.
Yeah.
It should have just had it with the little corner things and the red circle in the top corner.
More like a mobile phone type thing, yeah.
Maybe just didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
But I thought exactly the same.
It's a weird one because he did change up the look of the film at certain points very effectively and interestingly, but that seemed like a bit of an odd affectation to me.
Yeah, it was a strange choice.
But, what do I know? Some good lines. You've got the best ears in the business, but the coldest heart. Oh, cutting. We all sort of went like that. So, yeah. I do like the bit when he was talking to... So, yeah, I can't really call him Douglas King, but it's not. David King is talking to the pictures of famous people in his office, asking them what they would do, asking James Brown, Stevie Wonder, Jimi Hendrix and Aretha Franklin what they would do in this scenario. So what do we think they would do in this scenario? Would they give the money? So we work backwards. Would Aretha, if she had 17.5 million, would she give the money to save someone else's child?
I feel like Aretha would.
I'd like to think she would, but you never know. I'm a bit on the fence with Aretha.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, yeah.
I've got a lot more faith in Aretha than you.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I think in some of these, in an alternative podcast that I've been listening to, about such things, I think she had quite great jealousies of rivals.
Yeah,
she may.
That was it. I think that may be the same source.
Yeah.
That podcast being A History of Rock Music in 500 Songs by Andrew Hickey. But yeah, so I do think there could be reasons why she wouldn't, you see.
You were very certain about what James Brown would do.
James Brown absolutely wouldn't. He's keeping his money.
Yeah. Jimi Hendrix, I don't think would have ever had that much money to...
No.
He probably wouldn't, no, but if he had the money, he would have probably vaguely intended to do it, but he would have probably forgotten.
Yeah.
I do know from Andrew Hickey that he was notoriously skint throughout most of his life because he just continually owed people money.
That sounds very plausible, yeah.
He didn't quite get
he never
far
really...
along enough to actually ever keep any money and actually reap the rewards of his talent.
Yeah.
So who else?
Stevie Wonder, but he could have just rung him up.
He could, yeah.
Stevie Wonder's still around.
He could. And he seemed like a guy who would have had Stevie Wonder's number as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. The implication was that he knew all these people at some point, didn't he?
Quite how he would have known.
How would he have known Jimi Hendrix? I don't think that quite works out.
Been a bit of
doesn't
a
track. But anyway, yeah. But we get to a point, so like High and Low has that brilliant moment where suddenly we have the pink smoke. When they've sewn the tracker stuff into the bag that they know that he's going to try and burn, and the pink smoke happens, and like essentially Act 2 of the film goes on from there. We don't have a moment like this in this film, but we do have a very obvious cut point where the police put their plan to deliver the money into action once King's decided he's going to pay. Once everyone's told him he's a dickhead. There was a really weird shot on the balcony where the police detective who was explaining the process was suddenly on the balcony, not talking to anyone. And he must have been on a trolley and they must have been pulling him towards the camera or something.
He was doing the piece directly to the camera. It was like a dolly zoom, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like a sort of like a Hitchcock moment of impending dread.
But suddenly it wasn't, but he was talking to people, but there was no one there.
Yeah, it was an odd choice that I remember now. Yeah, like sort of breaking the fourth wall and explaining to us directly.
Yeah.
But with this weird thing happening with the focus of the background at the same time.
I feel like they were pulling him on a little trolley towards the camera.
Well, yeah, that would do it.
Which I thought was a weird decision. But then, as I say, they started going around to deliver the money via being on the trains, which was a very interesting sequence. And there was points where they were using this different lens or different film treatment or processing or something, and it looked really interesting.
Yeah, that was cool.
Well, it got me thinking of Denzel Washington in the remake of The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3 as well.
Yes.
The other New York-based underground film.
That's very true, yeah.
involving
Yeah,
him.
it did give it that sort of grimy sort of 70s feel, didn't it? Which was pretty cool.
Yeah, so it was interesting having not putting him on the train, which is always an interesting enough experience in New York anyway, having done it a couple of times. But then also having it on a game day for the Yankees, wasn't it? And so in having carriages full of people chanting "Boston sucks" right into the camera, like looking dead into the camera. So I don't know what Spike Lee's affiliation sports-wise are, but it doesn't seem very keen on Boston, who are, in fact, the only baseball team I've seen play.
Wow.
Oh, obviously it was their opponents as well. I can't remember who
They
they
were
were.
just playing on their own.
No, they were just having a run around. So let's talk about the drop-off. So it's fairly implausible in High and Low because they're on a bullet train, and in High and Low he has to push the suitcase out of a tiny window at a particular point so it can be picked up outside.
That's in the middle of the countryside.
That's in the middle of the countryside. Yeah. There's no one else around.
So...
Here, he has to drop a bag between two rail cars on an elevated section of the track. So we aren't in the underground.
Yeah.
But they also pull the train emergency brake to make him drop it.
Yeah, they didn't, because they said they were going to tell him when to drop it, but they actually, they pulled the emergency brake and they were waiting exactly underneath where he happened to drop it. So they must have known that he was going to drop it by accident, but how? It didn't make any sense.
Yeah, it seemed a totally avoidable. You know, they didn't. Yeah,
they could have just told him where to drop it, and he dropped it rather than going to it. And why you'd pick like in the middle of I suppose, I mean, maybe it's easy to lose a tail if it's in the middle of a Puerto Rican street festival.
Yes.
But also it just means that there are hundreds and hundreds of witnesses to absolutely everything that happens.
Yeah. So one of the people who collects the bag is in fact dancing in the choreographed dance. Catches the bag, spins round, gives it to someone else, carries on his dance with his dance partner. The string of coincidences and timing and luck.
It was very daft, that. And
there
didn't seem to be any need to make it as contrived, really.
This apparent giant network of people on identical black mopeds in matching black outfits who can do these multiple decoy bag swaps as well.
We went on too long, that part of the film, I thought.
Also, they were just passing the bag. Did you at any point see anyone take out the tracker from the bag and put it in a decoy bag so they followed the wrong bag?
No.
Did he just forget that they got a tracker in there? Because they should have still been following the right bag, shouldn't they?
Yeah. At some point in that chase where the bag never stops moving, they managed to swap it out for a bag full of tampons.
Yeah.
That are all loose.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's completely impossible what they did.
Yeah.
They never had time to do that.
No.
But even the tracker being in the bag in the first place seemed like a really weird thing, because I thought it would be like, I think I read somewhere, they put an air tag on the bag, which would be small.
Yeah.
You know,
like
it's not. It looks like
big thing.
whacking great.
Like a
shoebox.
Yeah. This day and age, I'm fairly sure that the things you can buy yourself to go on your holiday are like tiny.
Yeah, and you
just put it in the stitching of the bag or something.
Well, this is it, because if you think again, Kingo Gondo's skill is he was a leather worker, and so his ability to unpick and restitch leather is important in the film High and Low, because he gets to conceal the tracker capsule paint thing that you know, and that's a really important thing. Here, the equivalent is, I think, kind of the idea that David King has the best ears in the business, so he can hear a song and a voice on a song and go, "That was the voice I heard on the phone."
Yeah, no, that's very true. But then the police don't believe him.
Yeah, which is really so. There's a point where he's saying something that would be really, really useful. It's like,
given that they have no other leads whatsoever, they'd be like, "That's an interesting lead," but they just basically shout at him and tell him to shut up
until he goes away.
Yeah. We'll deal with your clue in the order of
which it deserves, or something they say.
Yeah. In the meantime, we want to keep asking this sleepy child that's been beaten up and kidnapped if he remembers anything else, when he's been saying, "No, I don't remember anything else. Can I have a rest now, please?"
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. Well, as I said at the beginning, there was certain aspects of this film one can't dig too deep into.
But yeah, the other bit about that bag drop off the train is that apparently it was filmed from exactly the right point at exactly the right time, and it goes viral.
Yes, that was another very extremely.
It's someone who was on the same level, so I don't know.
So that must have been, but they didn't go into whether that was supposed to be like the perpetrator had done that to humiliate King or something like that. But it ends up sort of becoming in his favour, and it becomes
he's apparently some kind of hero for dropping a bag of money by mistake when a train stops. But I guess he's delivering money to try and save someone's life. So that's quite heroic, I guess, in a way.
Yeah.
I feel like they did try and paint him as more sympathetic than the King figure in the book.
Yes,
and Iron Low, like because he really doesn't come across well in the earlier versions, does he? He's like very much doing the thing under duress, whereas he seems like he kind of, he actually has a bit of a conscience in this one and sort of wants to do the right thing.
I suppose that's the biggest difference, isn't it? The book and the High and Low, the dynamic is the police being the heroes.
Yeah, like Corella's the conscience, and
Whereas here, those types of characters are completely absent, aren't they? So it's all left to the King character to be both, really.
I just get the impression Spike Lee isn't really interested in telling that story at all, is he? So he just
and also telling any story about the police as heroes in 2025 in America is a very
absolutely
difficult and complicated thing to address.
And
really,
it's not something you're going to. If someone's going to try and do it, it's not going to be Spike Lee.
No, I would not have thought so. But yeah, David King does. It's a bit weird. He is like his character goes up and down so much, high to low.
That's true.
One moment he's totally up because he's going to be a success again, and he's going to buy the company, and then he's down because his son's being kidnapped. But then his son's returns, and he's like, "Oh, I don't care." And then he does care.
But then selling his
and then
business.
He's an action guy.
So at the beginning of the film, he's clearly going to be selling his business. Then he isn't. So maybe he's prone to random.
Yeah, and then his behaviour in the office, where he's listening to, we're supposed to know that he's getting back to his roots because he puts headphones on, which is apparently a thing he used to do when he really cared about the music. At which point the film becomes very obviously sponsored by Beats headphones, who I do think have a thing with Apple anyway. So
yeah, it sounds plausible.
But it is weird when suddenly you get loads of close-ups of these gold Beats headphones. And then even weirder, the fake record company logo goes across the screen in like a wipe. But it doesn't wipe, it just goes across the screen. It's
strange.
I honestly do not know what that was about. Of all of the decisions in the film.
There's a few weird little visual things like that. There's the bit later on where there's a screen divide that's a chain of little guns as well.
Yeah.
It's like, don't feel like it adds anything to anything. It just seems odd.
There was numerous stylistic things that, just popped up the once or twice, and then that was it. And it's like, oh, well, for no apparent reason.
This film
really.
that can be like, it's like quite naturalistic a lot of the time, and then just veers off into something that doesn't seem to go with the tone of the rest of the movie.
Well, particularly the music video at the end.
Yeah, well, it was very strange all of a sudden, doesn't it? But
I couldn't work out what that was supposed to be, because I assumed we were going to get the face-to-face bit at the end, because that's what High to Low's famous for ending on, is that the face-to-face of the captured person and King, or Kingo. And you were waiting for that to happen. And it was going to happen, but just before it happens, you have this short music video about the song that's featured in the film with the full dancing girls and all the horrible lyrics. There was some bottoms in it, yes. Can't
hide your bottoms.
Not in those dresses that they were wearing.
Wow.
I couldn't work out, was that supposed to be King hallucinating? Is it supposed to be in the mind of young Felon, the perpetrator? Is it just a strange stylistic choice to play into the world of music videos?
Yeah.
Is it all of them?
Yes.
Well, you're almost at the point that, does Spike Lee even know? There's certain choices in that you kind of question what's the point, or, what purpose they are serving. And I think,
I mean, I guess yeah, you could speculate that it's sort of King imagining how he could market this sort of incredibly suddenly popular incarcerated musician, because he's in the prison jumpsuit, isn't he, in the music video bit, which he isn't actually wearing in real life when they cut back to him.
No, indeed. Or is it then? Well, conversely, is it that guy imagining what it would be like now he's a big success, and clearly this guy's going to bow down to him and say, be on my label.
Yeah, so it could be either, couldn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, it then gets them to the head-to-head scene, which I think is an interesting one, because young Felon's character does go complete. You think he's just like, circumstances have been against him, but then he is a complete loony at the end.
Yeah, well, yeah. What starts as just a bit of a bravado spiel, you kind of like, this guy's kind of completely delusional about the dynamic that's... Because isn't it just said he'll be in prison for 45 years or something before then?
I think they worked out a deal for 25 years. Yeah. It's hilarious that he's telling everyone that he's innocent when he's going into the building, and it's like, well, I'm pretty sure they just found this gigantic bag of cash in your house and like his wife's Cartier bracelet on your missus. So yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, but then you say, I've had over 1 billion streams. You should sign me to my label. It's like, not in the. Well, I don't know. Maybe people would do that. It's a strange world we live in.
I mean, not to get too dark, but have you read about this? I think they just call him David, but it's spelled D4VD.
Yes.
Because that's kind of happening now, and like his career's gone rocketing since they found human remains in the boot of his car.
Yes.
So, I mean, who knows? It's a dark world we live in.
Yeah, it certainly is. Yeah. Righto. Well, I mean, I ought to make one more point. There's a point, with the rap battle.
Oh, yeah.
And it takes place between the control room of a studio and the actual studio itself. So the mechanism of how that works is you have a microphone in the control room and you press a button to talk into it, and the people wearing their headphones in the studio can hear you.
Yes. So he does press that button, doesn't he?
He does press that button. That's all fine. No problem there. The guy in the other room at some point takes his headphones off completely. And so he just wouldn't have been able to hear him.
Unless they've got some kind of monitor speakers in there.
Nobody turns.
Maybe he's an amazing lip reader.
Yeah, maybe. Well, they did start shooting each other after that anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, well, maybe that's what caused the breakdown in communication.
I can't hear you! Shoot.
Yeah.
Run.
Yeah, it's a bit of a silly scene, that, isn't it?
There's not many shots fired at all, is there? I think it's 4 shots or something like that fired in it, in the total.
And yet somebody loses an eye. More.
And they all have a good laugh about it.
Yeah. All right, Popeye.
Hey, Cyclops there.
Yeah. That's exactly how they did it as well. That one.
Pretty much.
Yeah. There's so many curious things in that film that, you just can't help but think, was there that much thought?
Yeah,
it's odd because there's like a bunch of like good stuff in it, but there's loads of just bits where you think,
well, surely you could have spent 10 minutes more thinking, we can slightly make this, not that you want it documentary realistic, but
no,
just bits where you think stylistically a bit more consistent, or the plot kind of just a bit firmed up and smartened up a bit. With very little change to anything, but
I think the problem for me, really, out of all of it, was the ending, because after you've had the head-to-head, it just keeps going.
Yeah.
And the idea with King's Ransom and High to Low is that, eventually they made this decision, everything's come good, technically speaking, but the King character, the central character of it, has lost everything, has have to start again.
Yeah.
And now this does happen here, but it implies that he's going to start again and become an instant success.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to have really lost very much, actually. It seems absolutely fine.
Yeah,
and there's a small conversation with his wife where she's like, "Are we going to be fine?" He's like, "Yeah." Like, "Oh well, good."
Well, she does ask him twice, and he does say yes twice, just to check. And that's
But then he seems about to sign a very bland artist, though. So maybe he's as delusional as the ransomer.
With a really bad stage name, Sula C. Singh.
Yeah.
What does the C stand for?
Yeah, Sulet can sing. Very strange.
Yeah.
And
he's going to sign her because his son fancies her.
That's mainly it, but also because it's really authentic, and that's what.
And she sings a song where the lyrics are essentially, David King was very rich, but then his son got kidnapped, but then he did not. It was someone else. Imagine how that would make you feel. That's essentially the lyrics to the song.
Less, yeah.
By coincidence.
I'm not sure quite what he's trying to sort of say about it. It feels a little bit like he wants to he's trying to have his cake and eat it with his commentary on sort of the state of music, because he wants to be down with the kids and get like current fashionable artists in, like ASAP Rocky and Princess Nokia and Ice Spice and whoever, but then he also wants to say, actually, this modern music is garbage and everyone just cares about money. It's a bit sort of like boomer guy trying to engage with modern music and tell these young kids what it's all about.
I've got this tune for you. It's called The Frumiest Bandersnatch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe it shares that blind spot that Bain had.
Yeah.
But the guy in his big rant in prison makes a good point to him, saying, when he's saying it's not all about the money, and he says, well, it was people like you who made it that way,
Yeah.
So.
I don't know that necessarily the music industry would be, quaking in its boots after the body blow of highest to lowest. But, there are points there, obviously very important points, but it's, it does feel a bit like these kids with their phones. In fact, there is essentially one sequence, which is these kids with their phones.
Yeah, quite early on, it gets in there, doesn't it? I mean, I totally agree with them about AI and all that business.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
That's cool. But yeah, it's like, we can either have like felonious kidnapping rappers who only care about music, who only care about money, or you can have really bland singers doing like incredibly generic music, which is really authentic, and nothing in between.
Yeah,
these are the two choices.
Yeah, all that music going on about in the film Highest to Lowest, and they didn't bother to get a sync license for my song High to Low,
outrageous,
which is on Good Grief's first album, Shake Your Faith, and still be heard. You can buy the record or hear it online. Imagine my life would be totally different of the sync money royalties I would have got from that film. I've already written a song about the moral implications of High to Low in a very poetic way.
Yeah, and if they could have had you in a little cameo, just doing some fancy handshake with him in the office there.
Yeah, absolutely. See, that's what every Spike Lee film's missing, is a 47-year-old white man from Liverpool and Yorkshire going, what's happening?
He maybe just thought he couldn't afford your fee.
No, that's it. That's it. I can't get the visa. Can't get the visa these days.
Too complex a character to work with.
I know. That's it. My demands are such that.
It's like, I don't know if we can get Paul Abbott. Get Ice Spice on the phone instead.
Yeah. They're sending Ice Spice to do a lot of my work nowadays. Anyway, right. Let's try and round off on this then, because we're obviously here discussing this film, but we are coming at it from this perspective of how many people will have read King's Ransom and talked about it as much as we have. How many people have seen High to Low and talked about it in the detail we have. I'm not suggesting that makes us specialists. It just means we've looked at this material, with perhaps more than some others have, or the general viewing audience will have done. So we've come to this knowing it's a high and low remake. So there's no surprises. We knew that the kidnapping was going to be a foul up. That all that stuff is not going to be a shock to us. So you've got to take that on board. But then I imagine that the blurb for the film would spoil that anyway, really.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a tricky one. Go on then, Steve-O. How do you feel about it, having seen it?
Yeah, I thought the beginning bit and the end bit were quite draggy, but when it got going and it livened up, not just necessarily because it became a bit of an action film for a bit, but it just kind of moved on. The pace was a lot better, and stylistically I thought it was a bit more interesting.
Yes.
But yeah, there's quite a lot of ridiculous bits, and I thought, slightly preachy and kind of cringy old person kind of ways, of which we've mentioned. So yeah, not particularly highly, I don't think, really. We need a unit of currency as well. I was going to suggest the expletive because there's
quite a lot,
extremely large amount of swear words in that film.
Yeah,
I was going to suggest Swiss francs.
Oh, Swiss francs, yeah.
I don't know. We can do it on the scale of 17.5 million Swiss
Well,
francs. I can't do the
actually,
sums.
No, that does involve some fairly hefty arithmetic. That's true.
Blue hand grenades. Maybe
that's the one.
Maybe we'll say that, and then in 20 years' time, we'll have no idea why we said.
What on earth are we going on about?
20 years, it'd be 3 or 4.
Yeah, well, yeah, it wouldn't take that long for me to forget. So yes, what does it need to be marked out of?
Out of 100.
Out of 100, I will be very generous, I think, and go 50.
Right. Morgan?
I mean, I did quite enjoy it, even on a second viewing, but it's got quite a lot of clunky bits and quite a lot of bits that do make me cringe a little bit. But I'm going to be slightly more generous. I'm going to give it 55 blue hand grenades, I think.
Oh, it's the same number of books.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm much the same opinion-wise. I mean, it's funny.
It has its moments, doesn't it?
It does, and Denzel Washington, is doing a lot of work in that film. He's got a strange sort of set of moral responses he's having to try and get through.
Yeah.
And he's also having to try and deliver it whilst talking half in song lyrics and half in just sort of weird business patter. And yeah, it's an odd one. He's doing a lot of work. Some of the rest of the cast are just fine.
Well, they blew the budget on him and Jeffrey Wright. You get the feeling, and
definitely.
They're carrying a lot of weight for the rest of the ensemble. But to be honest, they're not asked to do very much other than shouting.
It is a tricky one. It is interesting. I mean, the stylistic touches are interesting, but confusing to me more than anything.
Absolutely.
Some people might watch it and think those bits are amazing. I mean, I don't know. It's just, it just didn't add it. It just kind of takes me out of it, really, just because you stop enjoying the film and start thinking, oh, why did that happen?
Yeah. You're just kind of like waiting for the next weird thing to...
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, as I say, I'm a 47-year-old white man from England. I'm not necessarily going to be the person that most understands the black perspective in this. And I'm sure, though, if I was watching other Spike Lee things, I'd probably find it a much more understandable take on those things. Whereas the moment you throw in money and status and all this sort of stuff, it's very, I don't know, it's a bit odd. I struggle with that side of it a little bit. I'd still, at the end of the day, I still want it to be more McBain.
Yes.
But also the Kurosawa film is so good, one of the greatest films ever made type thing, that, it's tricky. I can't go above 50, I'm afraid. 50 blue hand grenades. These sums should be easy to do, shouldn't they, really?
Well, but you need to remember that you round down, though, don't you?
Yeah. So at 51.6, we round it down to 51 blue hand grenades.
Never ceases to be... but not ridiculous. They're the blue hand grenade.
That's why it was there, so we could have a unit of...
Just thinking back to that, what a cracker's little bit of that film.
Yeah, maybe it's got a symbolism that's passed me by on this first watch.
Yeah.
And I certainly wasn't set out to be cynical about this.
It passed me by on a second watch as well. So.
Fair enough.
You see, you just don't know, do you, with a lot of the little quirky flourishes, how many of those didn't make the final cut, for example, and it may have been a lot more consistent, and it's just been edited in such a way that so many of them are lost that what remains doesn't quite hang together as was originally.
That's it. It's like if you're watching a film that is consistently quirky throughout, then that's one thing. But if you're watching a film that goes on for an hour being fairly naturalistic, then throws you a curveball, but then goes back to being naturalistic for another half an hour, and then throws another curveball in, it's just a bit odd, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Right, well, there we go. Highest to lowest receives the official Hark the 87th Precinct podcast rating of 51 blue hand grenades.
Well,
we will wrap that up there. Gosh, it's nice to be back.
Well,
here we are. So it remains to be seen when or if we will be back again, and whether we will be back with more to do with McBain, if we can find anything, or whether we'll do something a bit different.
Who knows?
We could there's potential. There's potential.
Yeah,
We're nearly in a new year, new opportunities,
new ideas,
new trousers.
Absolutely.
Okay, and with that, I am going to say good night, as is Steve-O.
Good night.
And Morgan.
Fairly well.
Bye.